I'm meteorologist Mike Prangley with meteorologist Lee Southwick. So from Tampa to our sister station in Jacksonville, great to be with you, Lee.
Hey, great to be with you. I like that we are, tag teaming this and just covering the whole state of Florida and Southeast Georgia when it comes to the weather. We got the full package here.
Yeah, and this is perfect because, we're the ones that are in the thick of things, right? This is where that area of concern is, not just for the west coast of Tampa, but to the east coast in Jacksonville, from the Gulf all the way into the Atlantic. So what we have across our areas today through Friday, we have that weather impact alert. That means, we're used to the rainy season this time of year, or the stormy season, as they say on the first coast, but nature taking it up a little bit of a notch because we could have a tropical influence. So we're going to keep the weather impact alert in effect through Friday, and it looks like downpours and flooding. That's been our big things we're going to watch with this. And regardless if we do get a name or not, I think we keep the impacts the same, so just keep that in mind. We're going to be streaming live here on 10 Tampa Bay Plus, and of course First Coast News Plus. You want to make sure you stream as well and turn on those alerts for sure. So Lee, we'll start with the latest from the National Hurricane Center. I'm showing a big, well, it was yellow yesterday. Now we've got this orange blob, or really an area of concern. The big thing I want to get across, and I think some of the anxiety caused by this has been people are treating this like a cone. So I said, let's pump the brakes on that. This is not a cone. This is just an area of concern. And if you look at this closely, it's orange. It's come up a little bit, more of a moderate risk instead of the low risk like we saw yesterday. But at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of wind shear here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and so that's why I love that you just mentioned that, where it's not a cone. I've had a lot of questions about that. Just a friendly reminder to everyone that in this coverage area, everywhere that's shaded orange, that's where we could perhaps see the development of something, a tropical or subtropical depression, maybe. And again, it's a medium chance of that happening over the weekend or perhaps into early next week. But some environmental factors are there. Some are that inhibit, like the wind shear, and then others, like the warm waters, is warm enough to be conducive for tropical formation. Something good for you all, a trend, I should say, but still not in the clear yet. That blob, that orange blob that we've been calling it here at First Coast News, kind of shifting more into the Atlantic, more closer to the Carolina coast. And so we still can't rule out that potential for formation in the Gulf, but it looks like it's getting a little bit better for you all when it comes to the area of formation. However, depending wherever it forms, if it forms at all, you and us, we all will see heavy rain, despite formation or not.
Yeah, excellent point. In fact, if we've seen anything change really overnight since yesterday, the models have come in better consensus or agreement that if we do actually have something form in this, right, it's probably going to be in the Atlantic. And by the time it gets its act together, because we showed you all that wind shear, let's show it again. You see the front coming to the south, and just a ton of wind shear, not really allowing this to get started. So even though we could actually be tracking maybe a couple meso lows or small ripples of low along that front, it's really the front giving us most of our rain. And then maybe if that low pressure gets over the open waters of the Atlantic, could be some slow tropical development, but that's likely not until later in the weekend. So if we look at the GFS and Euro coming together, one thing sticks out. We are not seeing much in the way of a vigorous system whatsoever. And if anything does develop, they've been in better agreement developing right off the southeast coast and maybe even over closer to the Savannah and up toward the Carolinas. But as you were talking about, Lee, it's the excessive rainfall outlook. So when we give this, we're used to giving the Storm Prediction Center's severe weather outlook. It's on a scale of 1 to 5. Well, on this outlook, we're not talking damaging winds or tornadoes. This is about flash flooding. So you see the big yellow blob over Tampa here on the west coast. We're going to be the first ones to see some of those heavier bands of rain as that area of low pressure ripples along that stationary front, and then likely coming up your way after it gets us. But notice the highest risk of that flash flooding is really here on the west coast, really from areas of the Nature Coast to Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas, back to Fort Myers, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, really in level 1 risk of that. So more of a 5% chance of flash flooding. We're here in Tampa, we're seeing about a 15% chance. And then as we go into the 4th of July, we said things need to be watched carefully as to where that low may really get its act together, and you see that area shrinking, that flash flood guidance shrinks much smaller, and then even smaller by Saturday and Sunday. So that's telling us that a low pressure, if it does form, would not be forming and coming toward Tampa or Jacksonville. It would actually be moving away. So our weather team was more optimistic on the heaviest rain moving out in time for some of those 4th of July plans, and not telling folks to cancel their parades or the fireworks just yet. The Prangleys are keeping their planes, but keep in mind the flood threat is there, a real deal, especially this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow, ramping up for Tampa to Jacksonville. Look at this, 3 to 6 inches, Lee, I'm showing. That's Tampa showing 6.7 inches of rain between now and Friday at 11 o'clock to about 3 inches in St.
Wow.
Pete. So those are big numbers. We're used to rain in Florida, but this is taking it to the next level, and thus the weather impact alert, especially with all the travelers, people, and plans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say for Jacksonville, too, as you showed, we aren't under that risk highlighted by the Weather Prediction Center as we head into the next couple of days, really on Friday, on the 4th of July. And I just want to mention for all of our viewers here on the First Coast, something that we've been talking about is that the trend for drier air has been coming in later on Friday, so that's good for firework plans. We hope that continues. We do think we're going to see some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, perhaps a bit more typical when it comes to the shower and thunderstorm activity. But just a friendly reminder, although we're not highlighted by the Weather Prediction Center because it's not that widespread heavy rain that we're expecting on Friday, our grounds are so saturated that the water has nowhere to go. So where a thunderstorm does develop, we are still concerned about flooding. It's just a localized flood threat of those low-lying areas.
Right. In fact, the Futurecast, I think, is doing a pretty good job. In fact, you see whatever's winding up is actually moving away from Jacksonville as well. So I'd love to see that. And here you go, Friday at 10 o'clock. I know there's probably a lot of parades, including downtown Jacksonville to Tampa. I know there's one in Brandon here, tons of parades. But look at that. It would actually, if this works out, would actually wrap in maybe a little bit of drier air if that low pressure consolidates and continues to move off to the east. So as we look at the big picture, what Lee and I are watching here is this front, this stationary front, and this is the cause of concern, why we have an area of concern over us. And notice as it moves to the south, it's really not going to get here until later today, especially tonight and tomorrow. And as it does so, we'll watch an area of low pressure try to get started, okay? From Tampa to Jacksonville. So that's when we could see some of those heavier downpours. And you see here as we go into later today here in Tampa tonight and tomorrow, those increasing rain chances. So there's going to be a lot of lift in the atmosphere. Not only do we have the front squeezing out moisture, but more in the way of a low pressure trying to develop over us. And then notice as we go into our 4th of July, that spin really starting to wrap up a little bit better and become better defined, at least as it moves off to the southeast coast off Mayport there. And then behind that, we'd be on the drier side of the system. So you see there's two distinct sides. The right side of the system seeing the heavier rain, whereas if we stay on that western flank of the system, we would see some drier hours, which is some good news with all the people in town here and with all those plans, Lee. So that's what we're keeping an eye on, the trends, where that low pressure is trying to develop at this time, and where it's moving, and of course how much rain is on the way to keep people safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So the rain, obviously our main concern. Now, what you're showing with that low pressure that moves off the coast and maybe stays to the east of even Jacksonville, it would be great since we would be on the drier side, as you mentioned, wraps in that drier air. Just real quick though, too, something that we're watching if that happens, depending on where that low pressure system is and where that area sets up, we could have an increase in winds here, in coastal winds, so it could get breezy late Friday into the weekend. And also, right now, we're not too concerned about coastal flooding, but there's a lot to still figure out. We need that system to form first to even see, but something that we'd be watching, maybe a little bit of water trying to pile up on our coast because of the winds that would be coming out of the northeast and pushing on shore. So something that we'll watch, mainly just as we dry out, we might end up a bit breezier.
Yeah, good point. Sometimes that northeast wind, if it does form, that will create a northeast breeze. We're seeing most of the winds in areas from Duval north up into Georgia, probably in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. So at that time, I would say that's pretty good. We're not seeing a lot of wind with this system. And again, it would be maybe some tidal flooding with some of those downpours as we head into the next couple of days. And then we'll start to still have that northeast wind, but things will start to even improve across northeast Florida into southeast Georgia. So as we look at the big picture, we got the whole holiday weekend. In our 7-day here, Lee, we are showing really our highest rain chances here in Tampa today, tomorrow, and I think for Jacksonville as well, based on the latest trends, still seeing some of your highest percentages there. Then the 4th of July, notice we're slowly decreasing some of the rain down to 70%, 60 Saturday and 50 Sunday. So the trend is our friend. We'll just have to watch that low closely how close it forms to the northeast Florida coast and when it actually moves away. Some of the models try to stall it a little bit and maybe bring in a couple more waves of showers your way across the first coast as you go into Sunday and Monday. So for travelers, the big thing is we've been telling folks this morning, yes, let's get the travel done earlier the better, because things will only go downhill from here to Jacksonville as we head into the afternoon and the evening for sure. So what we're looking at again, we've got our weather impact alert in effect through Friday. Best travel this morning, Lee.
Yes, best travel this morning. Again, because we're ramping up here in Jacksonville and on the first coast, we have our weather impact alert in effect from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. today. So that's when we have those big thunderstorms developing, the heavy rain and the localized flooding. And then on Thursday, we have our weather impact alert for more of that widespread rain and the heavy rain that could lead to localized flooding yet again. On Friday, as we mentioned already, Jacksonville perhaps not as soggy, maybe not as much rain, but we still have a weather impact alert in effect too, just like Tampa. We have it in effect for those afternoon showers and thunderstorms that create a lot of lightning, and a lot of people are outside barbecuing, pool, beach, and so we just want people to be aware that we do still expect those thunderstorms and to have shelter nearby, because as we know, when you hear it, you got to get inside quickly. So we still have the weather impact alert for Friday, although we have dropped back our rain chances a bit too on Friday.
Very good. So it sounds like the news is getting better from coast to coast here in Florida, Lee. I like to hear that. As we were picking out this morning, you were seeing the same things I was. I was being pretty optimistic on air, saying, yes, we don't want to let it rain on our parades and on the fireworks, but there will be some rounds of rain, keep in mind, all the way through the holiday weekend. But at least we're not talking a total washout. That's the key here. And also be extra careful traveling, especially as we go into the next 24 to 36 hours. And really, it's day by day with these systems, okay? Things can still change. So again, we're still waiting to see exactly where that low pressure forms, when it moves away, and that'll have a bearing on exactly the big travel impacts and the lightning issue we're talking about.
And since we're talking about travel too, if you have any interests or family or friends along the Carolina coast for the holiday weekend into early next week, something for you all to watch as well. Because again, we could have perhaps a tropical or subtropical depression form over the weekend anywhere in that area of possible development, that orange blob, but models are kind of trending a little bit more out into the Atlantic, closer to the Carolina coast. So that's going to be an area that we're focusing on. Not saying that's where it will form, of course, but we're watching that area too. So if you have any interest, if you're heading to the Outer Banks, anything like that, just keep an eye on the forecast still.
There you go, your most up-to-date and accurate forecast from Jacksonville to Tampa. I want to thank you so much, Lee, for being with us. And of course, we'll just keep everybody updated around the clock till we can give the total all clear. And of course, keeping people safe. That's why we're here, right?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. And of course, we'll have some more updates throughout the day and tonight. Make sure you tell your friends and family. Go to 10 Tampa Bay Plus and First Coast News Plus for the most accurate and most up-to-date forecast information.